armoured vehicles to control rioters in West London. Our other major story this morning, the markets tumble. Wall Street has its worst day in several years and Asian stocks have also plunged.
This is Sky World News with Luquesta Borak.
A very good morning and welcome to World News. Well, fires are still burning in London after a third night of rioting, but the violence hasn't been confined to the British capital, with disturbances reported in Birmingham, Liverpool and Bristol. Rioters have clashed with police in several areas of the capital, throwing missiles, lighting fires and looting businesses and vehicles. The Metropolitan Police have deployed armoured riot vehicles in the Ealing and Lavender Hill areas of London, with hundreds of people having been arrested. Well, the Prime Minister David Cameron is flying home from Italy after cutting short his holiday. He's set to chair a meeting of the government's emergency committee, COBRA, later. Well, let's cross live to Ealing and speak to Sky's Simon Newton. I think it says something of the scale of the disturbance, Simon, that these armoured vehicles. Have you seen any?
Yes, I've driven over from Camden, so I've just arrived in Ealing near the Broadway, and I've seen about 6 or so of these armoured vehicles tearing past me at a real speed, followed by about another 6 or so police vans with their all sirens blazing. They were heading east, away from Ealing through Acton. That's where I saw them, heading towards Shepherd's Bush. I'm not entirely sure where they were going, whether they were on their way to another incident or heading perhaps south of the river. Not entirely sure, but it was quite a sight to see them. And these are the blue armoured vehicles. I think you're familiar with them. They're American vehicles that we see with big sort of square units on the back of them, painted a blue colour. So I've just arrived in Ealing, near Ealing Broadway. I can see there's a pretty considerable police presence here, lots of police vehicles, officers around. Just seen a very strange sight, in fact, of some youngsters who pulled up in a car, got out, and rapping to them. They were filming themselves rapping in front of these lines of police officers, making kind of that pistol sign, if you like, their fingers towards the cameras. They turned their music up. That was a very strange sight to see. There's another police car going Park Street heading east as well. So I'm about to run Ealing Broadway and see what is there. But I understand from my colleague Mark White that these armoured vehicles have been used in Ealing this evening. I think they were used previously in Clapham as well earlier on. So there's about 6 of them I've seen. So I presume they are the vehicles that we're talking about.
Any sign of the rioters themselves, rather than these youths rapping and recording themselves?
Yeah, well, the lads I've seen, hooded lads heading, for instance, I've seen there were groups of them in Acton in particular. It was 5 or 6. Saw several of those. Whether they are rioters or not, I'm not entirely sure, but they were all wearing black hoods, walking down the street together at 4 o'clock in the morning, so one would presume that they may well have been involved in something. They were certainly there where they were heading for. I'm not entirely sure whether they come from here or not. Isn't entirely clear either, but I've seen very few of them here at the moment. I'd say we'll have a look around and see if there's any more of them about that.
Okay, it's widespread social unrest going on in England. The rioting first started when Mark Dugan was killed. It started in Tottenham. I don't think I'm pronouncing it right. And then it spread to London and now to the entire country. There's rioting in cities, I believe, now. It's widespread social unrest. As the economy in England has deteriorated, now there's social unrest in the streets. Not that justifies it in any way, but it was predicted that this type of that this would happen. Widespread social unrest.
of London. Another guy on the radio saying that there's been a looting at a Tesco store in East Dulwich. Again, although it's fairly near to some fairly poor areas, it is pretty affluent itself. So it seems to be the pattern that these youngsters, these youth, are essentially looting shops and causing damage and clashing with police in the areas in which they live. Although in Tottenham, for instance, Thursday, people were saying that Saturday rather, people were saying that some of these lads who were involved had come from other areas. I think the pattern we're seeing here is that these are very much youth from their local area who know the area, know the streets, know the stores that they want to loot for.
Okay, Simon Newton, thank you for that.
So it started out in the poorer areas of the city, and now it's spread to more well-to-do areas, what that reporter was saying.
Heard from him a short time ago.
I have never seen anything like it. I have to say, it was extraordinary. I live local to this was coming on, so I came down on my bicycle and I started up by coming up from a side street and ended up coming right into the middle of it because, of course, there were no police here 2 or 3 hours ago, so there was no reason to know that it was actually going on at the time. So I cycled straight into it. That's when we took that video footage where you saw them trying to pull the television screens off the wall of Ladbrokes. I then turned round, I saw it was happening at Wimpy as well, down the road, literally just there at 2, that they could find, that they could get into, they were. And as I mentioned, these were young kids. These weren't adults, they were young kids, boys, girls, some of them as young as 14, 15. Someone said to me just now, where on earth are their parents? Well, I think that's a question that it's going to be answered tomorrow. But now it is quieter. The police arrived here, about an hour ago, so there was 2 hours where people could do what they like, and they have done. Look, that's a jewellers and pawnbrokers there. You can see they managed to get inside. Let's move actually a little bit closer to the pawnbrokers. You can see what they've managed to take everything from absolutely everything. And I walk up and down this street regularly. These windows are full of the sort of things you find in a jeweler. Everything's gone. Moving up here, you can see, look, there's a shoe here that someone has tried to nick from the shop JD Sports Road. It's the same all the way up, moved up, shop by shop. We watched them, local residents watched them too. And sorry, the cameraman's just tripping over some of the rubbish that's down here. So, everyone watched them. No one could do anything. I was talking to a couple of these people. They were nasty bits of work. They did not want to be filmed. And when they saw that I was filming on my iPhone, very to take that off me. I ran down the street, up that way, and we got away. But the police weren't here. They are here now. But at one point, just up there's a branch of Millets or Black, the outfitters. And the police were here, but only in small numbers, and so they just watched as the looters continued. So police on one side of the road, watching the looters taking out of Blacks, because there weren't enough police at the time. You can see some of the other shops along here, T-Mobile. There's a theme with all the shops. They're electrical stores, or they're stores that they think there will be money in. Move over here to our right. There's a branch of Boots that too has comprehensively destroyed. In fact, we could even go inside here and see. I'll leave the cameraman out there because we might lose the signal. But you can see here, inside a branch of Boots, there are drugs all over the floor. These packets are empty, Imodium. But, I mean, it's just extraordinary. They've taken what they can. They presumably tried to go to the cash register. That's what they were doing in Brixton last night. We've been in Brixton all day today. The people there were telling us that was what was happening in Brixton. It's the same here, taking whatever they can of value. And these are just opportunists, really. You can see the police are now there. They've stopped the protesters, the rioters, the looters from doing any more here. But I was at a back street just over there. There are still an awful lot of people milling around, young men with masks on, hiding their faces, milling around. There are not enough police in this area at the moment to be able to contain all those people. They're just running around, running amok all over the place. Extraordinary scenes tonight.
That was Mark Stone speaking to us earlier from Clapham Junction. Well, our Home Affairs correspondent, Mark White, joins us on phone. Mark, you were in Croydon earlier. Just remind us what happened.
Well, scenes of significant disorder really throughout Croydon, throughout the course of last night and into this morning. That as we left Croydon actually was continuing. We left Croydon about 2.5 hours ago, so there were fires still raging on London Road, main road, heading through Croydon. Not just one property, numerous properties in the London Road area affected by fire. They've been torched by looters who'd ransacked local shops along London Road, and that it was continuing. As I say, as I left, there were no police in that particular area where the looting was continuing, because they were up protecting the firefighters who were trying to get those blazes under control. And all the inhabitants from the affected properties were evacuated out onto the streets, viewing with heavy hearts the scenes they were witnessing, their homes engulfed in flames. Their neighbours are out with them as well, comforting them in some instances. I'm sure that some of those residents will be put up in their neighbours' homes in the next day or so, until we found to find a more permanent accommodation. But really, just a tragic scene in Croydon, watching the level of destruction there. And I think when sun rises in a couple of hours' time, and the cameras are back out in Croydon again, and you see the level of destruction in the cold light of day, I think people will be astonished at just how ferocious it was.
We're looking at the scenes of those houses burning, and you've been describing how the fires have been spreading to residential homes. Where are those residents going?
The residents are out watching the fire with other people, with bystanders, with their neighbours, with the public protection police officers, the riot officers out there protecting the fire brigade. They're all out in the street. They're all watching, just the very disturbing sight of these homes in South London being engulfed in flames. I mean, the thing about Croydon is be much further away from Tottenham, where this started on Saturday night, related to the shooting of Mark Duggan last Thursday night, which sparked these very violent scenes in Tottenham on Saturday. And no one in Croydon and other parts of South London that I visited throughout the course of the night believed that they would see this kind of rising on their streets. They just thought it would have been confined to the North London area, which indeed it was pretty much for the first day or two. But now, of course, we've witnessed an unprecedented spread of these disturbances right across London. As we speak, I'm just heading into the Ealing area now. So many shops along the Uxbridge Road in Ealing, heading towards Ealing Broadway, smashed in, shop after shop. Police van after police van now here as well to try to bring, well, they have brought pretty much a can to the area now, but it's the clear up that will happen in the hours ahead. And obviously they'll be looking ahead to what could potentially be violence in the capital this evening. No one wants to see that, but they have prepared.
Well, I got caught up in some of that violence earlier, Mark. It's incredible to see how fast it escalated. There is quite a human cost to all of this. Earlier we spoke to Trevor Reeves. Now, he's the owner of the business you saw earlier when Mark was speaking. It's House of Reeves, which is a furniture store, an iconic building in Croydon. This is to say.
I'm totally, well, me and my brother were here, we're just totally devastated. It's just, well, 5 generations, half the business is now completely destroyed. We've got customers to serve, the whole area, and the way that things just work in these days in Croydon is just despicable, absolutely despicable. I can't believe that as I drive my shop, having had an alarm call, 2 minutes later it's blamed because someone just got in and torched it. Saw the people coming out of the building, just running off with a crowd of people around it.